Thank you for tuning in to Mr. Cliff's Toy Shop. On today's episode, we take a look at the Storm Collectibles Gotcha Man Ken the Eagle. Today I'll be reviewing this figure in the following categories: accessories, articulation, design, is this essential to your collection, functionality, and price. Once those scores are totaled, I'll give you my opinion if this figure is a pass or a purchase. Man, has Storm dropped a lot of figures in the last few weeks. And boy, is this box enormous. So for accessories, taking a look at this, I feel like I'm somewhere stuck in the middle. It doesn't seem like much, but then when you look at it, it seems like we get a significant offering. So starting with the hands, we receive too many hands. We get 12 in total, 2 on the figure which are fisted. And if I have to say one thing, these hands look phenomenal. You see the knuckle prints coming out of the gloves as well as the fingers. This cool pointing gesture, and you can even see the fingernails imprinted here. Really digging this. In addition to that, you receive 2 head sculpts. And if you are wondering, this is removable. Looking at the 2 head sculpts, it's hard to see the expressions with this face shield off. Taking it off, you get to see a better expression for both of the faces. And I feel like it's okay. Now you receive pretty much the same weapon, but in 2 different forms. This is the way that he holds it within hand. And then you have a relaxed version which fits in his holster. Now this figure comes with 3 capes. Yes, you did not hear me wrong. So you have one on the figure which is very relaxed. You have this one here which is stretched out in a pretty cool pattern. I have to say the capes are done very well. There's certainly some texturing throughout it. The shape of it and expression is cool. And even on the inside, they decided to do the wrinkling, which they really didn't need to. And then you have this massive cape here, which I suppose would look pretty fantastic on the figure. Now, if it's one thing that I can say that's missing, the figure should have come with the flight stand. Particularly being that Storm Collectibles already has flight stands within their arsenals. So for overall accessories, I'm going to give this figure a 9 out of 10. So for articulation, the head is able to, doesn't seem like it's able to look up. Typically Storm has a second joint there, but this is all one piece. Oh, but it does flex. Okay, I was wrong. Whoa. So the head is able to look all the way up. That is phenomenal. It's able to look all the way down. It does rotate, and you have a decent amount of tilt. Not as much as you normally do. The arm kicks out that much to the side. I'm happy with that. It does do a full 360. You have a true butterfly joint collapsing inwards that much, collapsing outwards that much. You also have some up and down action. There is an upper bicep cut. You do have double jointed elbows, bending in only that much. The wrists are on a ball peg, so you can get this wrist to do what you need it to do. So with Storm, they have that floating A and B portion, my favorite torso system. So using the front of this only, wow, the figure flexes a lot forward. A great amount backwards. Great side to side as well as rotation. Using the combination of the 2. Great. Same thing moving backwards. Great side to side as well as rotation. So with the legs, they are able to kick out pretty much all the way to the side. They do kick forward that much, which is a good amount, and they kick back an excellent amount, more than needed. The rotation on them is not so great. Coming down to the figure, there's no other point of rotation. The knees, however, are double jointed. bending in that much. The feet are able to collapse down that much, forward that much. Good amount of tilt on the outside, okay on the inside, and you have toe articulation. So for articulation, this thing is nearly as good as it gets. The head is great, as well as the torso and the arms. The only limitation, in my opinion, is within the legs. The rotation here reminds me of McFarlane. Barely moves. So for overall articulation, I'm going to give this figure a 9 out of 10. And while I'm at it, completely unrelated, during that Balrog video, I believe I gave the articulation a 10. It is not a 10. It's more along the lines of 8 or 9. Wanted to make that correction without having to redo that video. So the design, it is a bit challenging for me to get a take on this particular figure. I am not sure exactly where the design is from, as the anime series has the figure more chubbier or rounder in the face, and the comic series and some of the reboots does have the figure slimmer. So with that being said, just taking a look at the overall figure itself, Storm Collectibles really did a great job of separating the paint. Now just bringing in this pretty close, we're going to focus on the legs. I know this is different what we normally do. We work our way from the top down. But I really like how the boots are actually sculpted. I wish Hasbro Legend would do this for their figures, particularly being that they have so much reuse. It shouldn't be a lot to do that. Now, with the white color, I'm assuming that the legs themselves were painted blue. As you can see, or maybe, I certainly have blue peeking through right around here and here, which I am not happy with that. Coming up to the crotch area, I don't see any blue peeking through. The belt is done really phenomenal. The red and yellow and the transition, well, it's actually a separate black piece, black belt in the back, which really looks great. And continuing up, the symbol looks fantastic. Really no bleeding from what I can see. The watch looks great. And coming up to the figure, I don't know, it's something about the face. Perhaps it is the visor. And speaking of the visor, it is a bit more blue in the series, though I want to be clear that the visor itself, it is blue. And looking at the figure here, I almost think the face looks a bit better without the visor on it. I do want to bring the head in for a closer inspection, and boy, is it done so well. The paint is where it needs to be. All the details of the helmet are really captured. Not sure if it's coming off on camera, but you do have some hard lines. And when I say that, I mean it actually looks good. Really happy with that. Now with this cape, it is floating, which I am not happy. I feel like the cape should sit more closer to his chest, similar to that. Unfortunately, is a bit heavy, so it does lift up in that area. And I didn't mention, but the gloves are also sculpted. Really like how that looks. Also, something to point out, this figure has a case of the long neck. However, with his capes on, it's something that you can't see, so I won't be deducting points for that. Oh, I nearly forgot to mention that I really like the way that the cape, I don't want to say it's done. I like the way that the cape looks. They were really able to capture some of the details that you see in the animation of the series with this particular character. For some reason, if I haven't mentioned this already, the body seems a bit long, a bit elongated. So for overall design, I'm going to go ahead and give this figure an 8 out of 10. So is this figure essential to your collection? Mr. Larson, take us away.
Battle of the Planets is an 85-episode animated series that ran from 1978 through 1980. It features a superhero team called G-Force, comprised of 5 incredible young people, all orphans, tasked with protecting this galaxy from alien attacks initiated by other galaxies, specifically from a force called Spectra from the planet Spectra, led by Zoltar and their boss, the Luminous One. Always 5 acting as one: Mark, Jason, Princess, Tiny, and Keop, each possessing superpowers and abilities through their physical enhancements and the technology they utilize, not the least of which is their wrist-mounted transmuting devices and their bird-themed uniforms. Operating from their underwater base called Center Neptune, they are guided by a robot named 7-Zark-7 who constantly monitors the known universe for possible threats that may require the unique skill set of G-Force. They travel across the galaxies in a fantastic spaceship called the Phoenix that also acts as a transport for their individual vehicles and, as an absolute last resort, has the power to turn into a giant flaming bird to extract the team from just about any predicament that they find themselves in.
So for toy options, this was an extremely popular franchise in Japan, and there have been several figures made of Ken the Eagle. There have been figures in various scales, there have been statues, vinyls of Gatchaman throughout the last 30 years. However, there has not been a figure as articulated and well sculpted as this one. So as far as being essential to your collection, I'm going to go ahead and give Gatchaman a 10 out of 10. So for functionality, I already know that we're going to have some challenges. As you can see, the figure is able to stand, and I assure you that it took some time for me to get him to stand. So we're going to go ahead and remove this head sculpt and remove this cape, which is a pretty heavy cape. So with those items removed, we're going to go ahead and put on this cape, which I'm assuming is heavier than the one before, and we're going to add on the additional head sculpt. Okay, so before we talk about the cape, I do want to talk about the head sculpt, the mask in particular. I am really happy that they gave us the option to remove the faceplate. Really something they didn't have to do, but I feel that this just adds a nice addition to this particular figure. So you can go ahead and plug that in. It doesn't always feel snug, though I can say for the most part it is up here secure. Now with the cape, and this is my biggest issue with this particular figure. You receive 3 capes in total. 2 of them are very heavy. So it makes the figure very top heavy, and the figure doesn't have the tightest ankles or feet. So it is very difficult to get him to stand with this heavy cape. You know what would have helped? A stand, which is not included with this particular figure. So you have to play around with the feet, lean him forward in order to get him to stand properly. And with this particular cape, at this time, I've been unsuccessful. Well, there we go. There he is standing on his own. Now, what I really would have preferred would have been a cloth cape. I am really not sure why Storm Collectibles did not provide a cloth cape, not a cloth plate. Wow. All right, now that we got that together, that would have really helped. It would have been lighter. You could have did some posing with it. I think eliminating one of the 3 capes, giving us one that's this rubberish material and one which was soft goods would have been the happy compromise. If you look on the side of the figure, you can see that he has a holster to store his weapon. Really happy that we get that. I'm going to go ahead and remove this hand, and I'm going to go ahead and add in this hand, which I've already added this weapon. Not sure if this figure is right-handed or left-handed. However, they really gave us a hand that was meant to hold this weapon. You can see how the top 2 fingers, the pointer and the thumb, collapse around the top. And you can see how there's a split between the 3 fingers at the bottom, allowing that weapon to protrude. And I really like when companies take the time to give us hands that are properly form-fitting. So very happy with that. So for functionality, for the most part, the accessories that comes with the figure actually work. Actually, yeah, I said for the most part. That's because of this. So yeah, for the most part, they work. The bigger hindrance is the cape. The one that sort of lays down over his figure is more fine and suited for the figure. It doesn't throw him off balance. However, this large cape and then the other flared out cape doesn't help this figure to stand properly. So you're probably going to have to get him in some action poses in order for him to balance that weight. So I will be deducting points for each cape. So for overall functionality, I will be giving this figure a 6 out of 10. So for pricing, this figure comes in at a whopping $120. Adding taxes, adding shipping, you're looking at a price point of roughly $145. So now, is this figure worth the price of admission? Well, let's see what he comes with. In terms of accessories, you do receive 2 heads. Both do have a removable faceplate, which I really like. You do have 3 interchangeable capes, which helps to put this figure in some really dynamic poses. You receive 12 hands in total, in my opinion, a bit too much. And then you do receive 2 weapons, and one is able to fit in his holster. Now, what's missing? For this price point, we're certainly missing a stand. So man, this figure is expensive. For that $145 price point, you're certainly into soft goods material for an action figure, beyond that even. And unfortunately, this figure doesn't have any soft goods. And I feel like that's really a hindrance for this particular figure when it comes to that cape. I really wish Storm would have eliminated one of the capes, however, provided one that was soft goods. In addition, for that price point, this figure should have come with a stand. I also want to say that we typically see Storm includes more accessories with their figures, whether that's 3 to 4 head sculpts, weapon, effects, and I feel that for this price point, more should have been included with this figure. So for overall pricing, I'm going to give this figure a 5 out of 10. That should give Ken the Eagle an overall clip score of. So now is this figure a pass or a purchase? However, the biggest issue for this figure is the price point. So with that heavy price tag, I have to say that this figure is a pass. Okay, so here's Ken by himself. I may have to hold her, but next to him is the Marvel Legends Emma Frost. And while the scale is completely different, I feel like this works. All right, I'm not going to be able to get Emma to stand up on her own. Let's go ahead and throw in a NECA's Mirage Turtle. There's a slant sort of in this middle, so if they look a bit uneven, that's why. Let's go ahead and throw in Yaomo Envelope, if I said that correctly. Whoa, what a figure this is. Not sure which video is going to release first. And though these are different scales, I also feel like this works. Let's go ahead and throw in Broadway, which is actually shorter than Ken the Eagle. Go figure. Yeah, he's definitely shorter. Let's go ahead and throw in the NECA Casey Jones from the Toon line. I'm going to say that that doesn't work. Let's throw in Fei Long from the Jada Tories Street Fighter line. And yeah, I don't think that works either. Okay, and I'm able to throw in a Storm Collectibles figure. So here's the Storm Collectibles Mortal Kombat Kano. And looking at this Kano, again, I feel like this figure is a bit too tall. Could be completely wrong. Could be a taller character and a shorter character. This almost looks like 2 different scales. Yeah, I really need to see how tall this figure is. So I want to thank you for tuning in to Mr. Cliff's Toy Shop. I hope to see you during the next episode. Oh, and as soon as someone makes a soft goods cape for this one, I will be purchasing it. If you find it before me, please feel free to message me. Thank you.